Hey everyone, welcome back. Today we're going to be talking about probably something you guys wouldn't expect to come from me, because most of you know me. I'm a hardcore cichlid guy and I've done all sorts of different types of stuff. So most people wouldn't think about that Biggs used to do a lot of different types of catfish. Today, I thought we were going to talk a little bit more about Plecos, okay? So we're going to talk a little bit about Plecos, or short for Plecostomus, or suckermouth catfish, whichever way you want to call it. More accurately though, they are the Loricarids, and these are the family Loricariidae from the order Siluriforms. This group of catfish, the Loricarids, is the absolute largest family of catfish. These catfish all hail from the New World, and they all start anywhere from Central America, mostly in the southern Central America, like Panama kind of area, Costa Rica, Panama, and then going down into South America. Now there's over 90 genera of different types of Loricarids, 90 genera, and almost 700 described species. So these are really a big family of fish, and they're vastly different. Everyone just thinks, oh, they're just the sucker fish. They all sit at the bottom, they eat poop, they clean up the tank. No. This is a vast assemblage of fish, and they have many different types of breeding strategies, which is really going to be the focus of the video today. Now, I've been fortunate enough to breed several species. I'm definitely not up there with some of these incredible masters like Mr. Ingo Seidel in Germany, Andreas Tonke, who specialized in particularly one particular genera, the Panoculus, and they are devout kind of wood eaters. We'll talk about that a little bit more down the road. Or Daniel Convetterlein, the scientist, dear friend of mine, who's been spending most of his life studying the little structures that are on their lip thing. We'll put a little link to the video up there in the corner talking about that a little bit more in detail. It's super fascinating stuff. These are really cool fish. However, for me, they just don't really float my boat. I like a lot of them, but I remember back when I bred the zebra pleco, we're probably talking 89, 90, 91 when I kept and bred it. We were importing large wild adults. Breeding them was no big challenge. As soon as people realized that they weren't actually algae eaters. That's another trick, is Plecos, all the groups of these fish, they're not all the same type of fish. They don't eat the same type of diet. There are true algae eaters. There are plant scrapers. There are true xylophages or xylophores, ones that'll truly eat wood and need the cellulose out of the wood as part of their diet. There's some that have long canine-like teeth or rabbit-like teeth for extruding things out of snail shells or clams, true meat eaters, true predators. So there's a very vast different types of fish. So apparently not all Plecos suck. Some are pretty cool. So I've been fortunate, I've bred the zebra pleco and I've bred a few other types of Hypancistrus. Once you've bred one, they pretty much all breed around the same way. It's just figuring out those pieces of the puzzle. Water parameters, dietary needs, barometric pressure changes with following storms and so forth, seasonal changes in regards to water temperatures and stuff, depending on where that species comes from. Now, with breeding tropical fish in general, there's always different tricks and tips and things that we can do, but reality is these fish in the wild breed successfully and they find a way to make it happen. So in captivity though, we'll just use this as an example. If you were to breed tetras, characins, barbs, zebra daniels, those type of things, you can often buy products like this flexible mesh at a hobby store, or you could use marbles, but basically you're going to be able to put this somewhere in the tank to separate the parents from the eggs, and the eggs will fall through, and that's how you're going to be able to replicate these types of species successfully, because they'll breed, they'll lay eggs, but they'll also scavenge on those eggs rapidly. So you want to save as many as you can, get the highest yield. So things like this are invaluable. They're available for pennies at a dollar store. Another thing that they often use for things like killifish, but you can also use for cyprinids and barbs and tetras and so forth, is the types of mops. These are made with different types of natural acrylic yarns, not natural, but acrylic yarns, so they don't break down in the water column. I often boil them to make sure there's no dyes that are added. You know, you pick greens and browns, like plant-like colors or root-like colors. And these ones here, I've attached different types of wine corks, so they're gonna float in a tank. But if you could attach them to different types of weights, then they're kind of spongy plants and they'll kind of float in the water like this, and then the fish will go and breed and lay their eggs in there, and then this type of stuff will protect it, and then you can remove these and hatch the eggs. When it comes to Plecos though, there's different types of breeding strategies. A lot of them will often breed under different types of rocks. Like if you ever look at the habitats of these things, there's lots of rocky rubble strewn about. Often there you'll see in soft riverbanks during the low water season, you'll see all these arm-length holes in the riverbank of the clay. So it depends on the types of species. Some will need to make a nuptial chamber to bury into the soft mud and to defend it. But you notice how armored these fish are? It's often the male that takes care of them. So the male will go in head first after everything's been done, eggs are laid, eggs are fertilized. The male will often go in there and just lock his fins. So you can't get the fish out, you can't get the eggs out, and because they're such armored fish, the eggs and the spawn are very, very well protected. So in captivity, we've created, and there's all sorts of different types of products available. These different types of Pleco Caves, these are all made out of ceramic. This is a fairly commercially available one. Different types of textures. This one here is a lot rougher to the feel. It mimics rock type habitats a little bit different. Depending if you have much larger species like the big Scoby ancestors types, which over in Indonesia, they're breeding with a lot of great success. I've bred some really large plecos and these type of things, and these used to be ceramic wine coolers. You get these wet and put them in the fridge until they're really, really cold, and then you put your wine bottle in it. I don't even know these are available anymore. And in some of the areas of the southern states or different areas of the states, you can often use terracotta or the waste discharge pipe. So you can often get little cut-offs and broken pieces of that, flower pots, different types of things like that. Now for me, these are my favorite Pleco Caves. These are my secret Pleco Caves. These are the ones that I got made for me that look terrible. They don't look pretty whatsoever, but these are the ones that I like the best because they get into a very, very tight recess type area. There's not the same similar smooth right to the back type tube. They get to a much tighter area. So even smaller species or bigger species can use the same one. So I find these type of ones a lot more versatile than any of the other ones. However, I have also been very successful in breeding a lot of different common ancestral species and so forth, and there's just a myriad of them coming out now in ordinary aquarium decorations. Things that you might find at the store, The fish will make use of these different types of things. They've got different holes and fissures and different types of things like your big pieces of driftwood. Like I've got pieces of wood in the tanks behind me and there's driftwood in all the tanks. A lot of that Malaysian type wood has all these little nooks and crannies and fissures. And if you're even more excited about it and you really want to work with a certain type of species, you could take a hole saw and go and drill holes directly into that wood and make little holes in areas for them. Now, one of the other things, and I've done a video on this separately before, but one of my absolute favorite, particularly for species that require a bit of plant material or roughage in their diet, is using bamboo. This is just ordinary bamboo combs. I like cutting them just past with the knuckle here, cutting it off so you've got an opening and then it's blocked off. So I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 Pleco Caves roughly just out of this one piece of bamboo. And granted, I don't have any bamboo that lives up here where I live, but when I was down just south of the video that I'll put up in the corner here at Rusty Wessel's place in Louisville, Kentucky, it's just a rampant wild weed in his yard. So this is something that should be readily available to a lot of people. And I bought this just at a garden center for decorative purposes, and I've just been cutting it up and using it. But I've had this piece left over from 3 or 4 8-foot pieces for probably 30 years. And that's the only piece that I have left. I've given it out to friends and stuff. But it's nice because bamboo is not actually a wood, it's actually a grass, and it will start to break down a little bit. And it gives something for the adult fish to kind of work on, as well as the fry once they hatch. Especially if you have a mixed tank with other species in it, it gives the fry a bit of safety. Now there's one other product, and I just saw this product at the American Cichlid Association Catfish Convention that I was at recently. And it was a gentleman friend of mine at KGE Tropicals, Keith Kalinowski, is now the North American representative for Easy Caves. This is a company out of Australia, and it's a very, very unique product. He sent me home with a sample. It's like a plastic polymer type material. It's very rough to the touch, and it comes in all the different colors, all the different shapes that you would associate with a lot of the Pleco Caves. It doesn't come in like what I call the turd shape, but it comes in all the nice normal shapes, easy to make. It has a nice little track on the bottom, so you can make all these rows, like these barracks. I've shown you guys in some of these little videos and clips and pictures that I've put up here, so that you'll see a lot of the different people that keep it. When you breed a lot of Plecos, and that's your main passion, you pretty much have tanks full where all you see is tails. You see a tail in each cave, and to me that's just not as exciting as some of the other stuff. But their breeding behavior is pretty fascinating. Now getting back to the Easy Cave, the thing that's really cool about it is, one, it's completely washable. You can easily sterilize it for putting it tank to tank with no cross-contamination. But if you're working on a real specialized Pleco, and you finally get them to spawn and you want to maximize your yields, is the Pleco Cave comes apart. So you don't have to try and extract the male out of there against his will. You can literally just do this pull it out and you can inspect and see how many fry you've got and maybe dump them into a little rearing chamber without doing too much disturbance. Very, very cool product. I saw it at the ACA. This particular one sells for about $15 US. So, you know, it's very, very reasonable if that's, you know, type of things, because I see the different types of clay ones. These are probably $5 to $6 to $7, $10 at the different shows. And I know everything's always going up. But this thing was very, very unique to me. So, hope you guys enjoyed some of that. Hopefully that gave you some sort of a tip or something like that. Maybe you got one little nugget out of the bigs for that one. I don't really know. But Plecos, even though I kind of joke about it, and I often say Plecos suck, but they don't all suck. Some Plecos are pretty cool, and they're definitely worth the challenge for breeding. So until next time, my friends, take care.